Welcome to Your Way Forward, a podcast where you can expect to find wisdom for uncertain times. Our podcast is hosted by me, Nicole Artabassi, along with my friends, spiritual teachers, and intuitive soul guides, Jenny Fairbank and Stephen Ross. Tune in each week as we unpack some of the hardest things that we're navigating in the world, from shared societal challenges to deeply personal life experiences. Our desire is that each soul who joins us experiences truth, love, and hope as they take their steps forward in life. Oh, and I should mention, we aren't just sharing our thoughts and opinions on here. Jenny and Stephen will be live channeling their spirit guides who will respond to your questions in our Ask the Guides minisodes. If you find our episodes helpful and worth sharing with a friend, feel free to spread the word. We're not here to gain a massive following, but rather to be a space for people to find guidance and light on their journey. Now, let's get into it. Hello again. Welcome to Your Way Forward. Excited for today. Excited to be with my friends. Hello, Stephen. Hi, Jenny.
Good to see
Hello.
you. Good to be with everyone.
See
Good to
you.
be here.
Well, I'm very excited this morning for this topic because it is very much living and breathing in my life, and it's I'm learning and growing so much and have found a lot of freedom here. So really excited. This could be, as Stephen has shared, 5 episodes probably packed into one. So we could go deeper in some areas. But today we're going to be talking about why things happen, why things occur. There's the old adage, like, why do bad things happen to good people, right? That's one way people view this. And to be very clear this morning, as we go through this, we're not just talking about just why bad things happen, right? We're just about why things happen in general. And obviously there are bad things that we go through, and we can't help but wonder why. So we're going to be unpacking that this morning. I would never unpack this by myself. Thank goodness Stephen and Jenny are here to help. Let's just start with, why do humans feel such a need to know why things happen?
I'm having an image, and I'm just going to say this to folks because I'm seeing it kind of come in for me intuitively. There's been an idea that there's something like a cause and effect. I'm going to use the word matrix reluctantly, but it's kind of like a grid around us. And this cause and effect grid seems to be how natural laws play out in life. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So human beings are always looking for the cause in everything. What is the cause? They're always looking for the root of existence, trying to find out what the cause is for everyday drama. And so always we're looking for that. There's something tied into it, the cause and effect. So the image I saw is kind of like a cloak over the earth, but it's a grid. And somehow there's like these natural laws that we play into. And so this search for why, what is it? It's like they can take that right back. Like, the funny thing, if you keep asking why, like even with my kids, they'll say, so it's just all God in the end, Dad. You know, like you get back to all the whys, and it gets you back to this deeper primordial beginning. Does that make any sense, you guys? Help me out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we all know inherently there's a cause and effect. We all know there are consequences in life. We all know our actions do reap benefits or whatever it is. We're going to have consequences. It's a natural way we know inherently that. And that's why I feel that people naturally also feel bad when they do something to hurt someone else.
Sure.
Most people have that inherent feeling, oh, I just hurt somebody and that hurt my heart. So we know deep down that our actions do matter. And then we get into a deeper sense of, well, why do, as you said earlier, Nick, like bad things happen to me? I'm a good person. Why do bad things happen? And this is a whole nother level of first by even saying this is bad or this is good, when in reality, it's energy playing out. And there's a deeper meaning for all that actually happens. It's not the surface of, oh, this feels bad to me, so it must be bad. this looks bad, so it must be bad. There's a neutrality. It's things are just happening. It's neutral. And then we as humans put the labels that this is right or wrong or good or bad. Now there's some obvious things, right? That, killing someone, we would all say, oh, that's bad. That's not a
Mhm.
good thing,
Sure.
right? But when we look at it from, and I think you're coming at it from the perspective of like overall, why are things happening the way they're happening, right? So there's a
Well,
lot to that.
yeah, and I'd love to dive into the neutrality because it is really, as I've shared with both of you, brought Karen and I so much freedom around questions, right? I'm an unbelievable. This is why I have this position in our podcast. I love to ask questions. I love to understand. We love learning. And it's also, I think it can also be a dangerous place, right? If it's, depending on where it's coming from and what we're looking to get out of that. Let me take a step back and ask, do you believe everything happens for a reason? Or is that something humans say? Is that something that we say just to provide meaning to pain?
Mm, great question. I would say it's a difficult one because there's different scenarios here, but based on how I see the ego, which essentially holds and clusters your past experiences in it, that a random event can happen, and somehow the reaction in your energy field to the event makes meaning, makes something happen, opens you up in some way, touches a nerve in some way. The other three people walking with you when the same event happen are not have find no meaning in it whatsoever.
Hmm. Hmm.
You
Mhm.
see, they're
Oh, that's
cool,
it.
and you're all in a tizzy,
Mhm.
and now
So
you
it's
make this
about
meaningful.
perception.
What's that?
Perception is our reality.
Perception, yes, and also a clinging to an old story that's been
Oh,
activated by the moment.
okay.
So now it's meaningful. This black cat crossed the road and it's meaningful to me for some reason. That's what comes. Other people are like, it's just a cat.
Mhm.
And so we make
Interesting.
meaning from a lot of experiences.
Oh, that's a little mind blown right now. That I've never looked at that angle of, yeah, that's so interesting. And it's, I guess you can go back, the analogy I think about is when you're looking to buy that yellow truck, all you see is yellow trucks. Nobody else notices the yellow
Yeah,
truck,
your awareness is
right?
shifted.
Yep.
Because there is something within you. The yellow truck just was. Maybe there's many, maybe there's not, but it's different within you versus maybe someone
Mhm.
else. Interesting. So then does the question around, does everything happen for a reason?
Hmm.
My
Yes.
my instinct says yes, everything. There's reason behind everything. There is order. There is,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
Hmm.
there's divine order. There are, yeah, it's a phrase I say often. There are no accidents. What is happening is not happening to you, it's happening through you and for you because you are here in this experience to awaken with your divinity within yourself and to remove the triggers, we could call it, the blocks, as Stephen says, the meaning. If you're having an experience, the same experience as someone else, you have a meaning for it or you get triggered by it and the other person doesn't. That is an opportunity for you to
mm,
look at yourself and say, wow, why am I bothered by this and no one else is? Why is it bothering me that this is happening?
mhm,
There's an it's always an opportunity for you to learn something, for you to release something, or for you to experience something that you really need to experience for a plethora of reasons. So if we live in the mindset that life is happening for me and through me and it's all opportunity, it changes the whole game of our existence. And then we don't necessarily label it as, oh, this is terrible. Why did this happen to me? But oh, okay, why did this happen to me? We talk about in our on our spiritual path the stages of our work of like we can be in revolt. I don't. Why is this happening to me?
Hmm.
And get upset about it. Or the quest is, huh? why is this happening to me? I wonder
Mhm.
what is happening for me here. What is
Yeah,
trying to happen through me is one of my favorite statements. What is
right.
trying to happen right now?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then then we can stay centered perhaps more easily. We can be more objective. And then we can actually get more guidance and clarity because we're in that open curiosity mindset versus, I don't like this. I want it to be different.
right. So, like I'm hearing you say, you can really assign meaning because there's meaning in everything without assigning blame,
Mm,
right?
100%.
Definitely.
Like, I think that's a very, because there's this innate thing I know, and I say this because, and I'll just share a story for our dear listeners. I know I was texting Jenny probably once she was in bed last night, freaking out a little bit. We live at our friend's place right now for a while, and they're out of town. And one of, our only job is just to make sure the cats and the chickens, the hens get fed, and make sure the house doesn't burn down, I guess. And one of the three cats, has had outrageous, like, started with a UTI, got really sick to the point where it was like we couldn't find the cat and it, like, almost died. And this is, like, their beloved cat. Like, this is the favorite one, of course. And it has been such an emotional roller coaster because, I mean, and I know some people are like, "Oh, it's just a cat, it's just an animal." But for the cat lovers on here, you get this, right? I've just gotten to know cats, and they are lovely little creatures, and it was just mortifying, and to the point where they just had this pretty outrageous surgery for him, and I can't help but feel like, initially, we just felt so much blame, like, we're
Mhm.
responsible, like, we did nothing different than, what we did with the other cats, and somehow this one is, like, going through this horrific, and it's repeating, it's, like, not getting better. And then lo and behold, as we start to climb out of, blaming ourselves, talking to, our friends, and they're like, "Oh my god, this isn't your fault," last night, there's 9 hens in the hen coop, okay? And I'm going somewhere with this story. And we go out there, we feed the hens every night, every morning, and, I was up here working last night, and Karen calls down to me, and she's like, "Oh my god, come out here, I think one of the hens is, like, dying." And I was like, "No, please no." So sure enough, I go down there. The most beautiful hen, this golden hen out of all of them, it's her favorite, they've named them Buttercup. And it is like the head is, like, dropping, like, it is obviously very ill, we have no idea what's wrong, and we do everything we can, we call our friend to let her know what's happening, and, we're trying to nurse this little thing back to life, and lo and behold, it dies last night.
Oh,
So, we are getting very, very well acquainted with life and death, on
yeah.
the island, and I know those of you listening who eat meat, you're like, "We eat chickens, this is just part of it," but there's something very different when a, it's someone else's pet, or B, it's this little life, and I think so coming back to like, the meaning around things, Karen's in tears, I feel terrible as I'm digging a hole to bury this little girl, thanking her for all the eggs she provided us. It's this flip side is we're walking back to the house, Karen looked at me and she's like, "Is this a sign we're not supposed to be here?" And I was like, "No, baby."
Mhm.
Like, I don't think, and so immediately you go into, like, I guess, what are we being taught? Like, this is where are we being pushed out is, our fault. We're doing something wrong. And I just, in my deep, truest inner self, I was like, no, we're not. But we are learning something. And so I took away, like, what are we learning through this? And I said, we want to have some level of animals, horses, maybe rehabilitation to help kids at some point here in Hawaii. And I said, things pass away. So one, what we're learning is we've been stuck in a city where every bit of meat, every little animal, everything comes in plastic packaging, and we're not acquainted with life and death that closely. We're not close to that circle of life.
Mhm.
Number two, you know, we like are being prepared to be okay with this process if we're going to have a horse later that we might have to put down.
Mhm.
So I'm going to throw it back to you. I mean, this was my experience. And I think I worked through this last night very diligently to not try to assign blame because that is typically the go-to.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Any thoughts around this? I know,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
that story is small compared to what some people go through when they
No,
lose
it's a
people.
no, it's an important one. I was listening to you and just getting images coming in at the same time. So first of all, I think it's really important for people to understand that you're not just this body bag, okay, and a mind. You are an energy body. There's like a magnetic field. This magnetic field seems to have a way of attaching onto things. based on
Right.
energies that are like seeds inside your chakras. Okay. And bear with me here. Now, these energy seeds, we're always a work in progress. We are living past, present, and future all at once. Old
Mhm.
attachments to things, maybe around
Mm.
life, death, chickens, cats, where you live,
Right.
life, transition. There will be attachments, like attachment cards. The present moment, where can we live, the rent to pay, what they're going to say, a whole host of attachment cards. And then you got future stuff. And so imagine all of these cards coming up, forming a basket. With me so far, like a wicker
Mhm.
basket. I know this is silly, but bear with me. People use the term basket case when they're really stressed about stuff. And I'm convinced that through this point, it's a crazy Stephen theory that all these attachments like a basket in here, and we're just like in it. And
Mhm.
how do you, there could potentially be 30 different needs and attachments to things all in a bundle with this little chicken. Okay, I love chickens, by the way. And so when we're in that, like we can't see the story and we try to find meaning. Now, the problem comes is then in the ego will then look at the closest thing, the easiest target, pinpoint on that, and see it as the chicken. Am I making any sense? It is chicken. Now, the problem is you got this bundle of a whole bunch of other stuff, all triggered at the same time.
Yeah.
There's meaning for sure. Everything from like where you're living to Hawaii, the whole thing bundled in there. But then there's this, I'm going to call it objectification, where we see something and the mind says it must be this.
Mhm.
You see?
Back to assigning meaning, but it's
Assigning
all coming
meaning
from
to the chicken and
right,
it's
and I'm hearing
dying.
you say, let me
Don't
just
die.
translate for our
Yeah,
sorry.
keep going.
So to translate for the listeners and myself even here, so you're saying that where we're trying to assign specific meaning or let's say attaching
Mhm.
to said situation or what's happening, it's coming from likely something that's already happened in our past, right? Is
Or
that what I'm hearing you say
future.
or am I missed
Yeah.
it?
So for
Or future.
example, not to get too personal, but it's a great
Yeah,
example. You'll be like, chicken, don't die, chicken, don't die, chicken. Inside, what's really happening is I'm worried where I'm going to live next month. Well, I don't know. There could be a whole bunch of things clustered in there, you see?
I see.
And now
Like if
we're
we
worried about the
failed them
chicken.
on all these areas, they're gonna be like, "You can't
They could be mad at
like, we
us. I
don't
mean,
need to."
there's a
Yeah.
whole host of things in there, you see?
Sure.
So if you pick it
Well, hence
apart,
why Karen's like, "Maybe is this a sign that we shouldn't be here?" And I'm like, "What are you even talking about?"
even
Like,
that.
and our friends adore us, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, they adore. Yeah, I bet they do. Um, so even that is a sign. When you say that, I see a ping of an attachment cord.
Mhm.
There's a connection to where we live. It's a chicken dying, but there's a connection to where we live. So now we try to find some underlying reason, but we can't quite find it in the heat of the moment. So then it must be a sign, but actually, like, there's another truth at play here. Jenny, what do you think?
Which is so interesting, Nick, when you say, where Karen went to with that was maybe it's a sign and that was that's her attachment cord, but you don't have the same attachment cord because you didn't think that. And when she said it, you were like, yeah, no, no, no. But you have something else that you're attached to there, right? Which are you aware of one of what is the main one?
Why don't you tell me, Jenny?
Well,
Well, it just kind of
Say it.
and I
Yeah,
could
go
be
for it.
wrong, but what's coming for me is they're not gonna like us anymore. They're gonna
Oh,
think
okay.
we're not fulfilling our obligations,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Disappointing them.
Like,
Yeah, so I deal very
disappoint
much and Jenny's saying this because she knows me very well. And I struggle with, like, disappointing people, right? Like,
Mhm.
what does that mean? Because I've dealt with a lot of abandonment and loss, and so when I disappoint people, they leave me, right? It
Yes.
was what the lie that I've
yeah.
told myself, I have a interesting father, um, nice word. But yeah, you're right. We have very different and then I guess you can even take the positive spin. So let's go here. So is there a positive, maybe yes or no? Is there a potential that there can be a positive attachment?
Yes.
So like my
Yes.
positive attachment was we're being prepared for something. We're getting the
Yes.
opportunity to see the cycle of life, even though it's a little painful because you see this little bird
Mhm,
suffering
yeah,
the
it's just that
last breath, not comfortable. but also recognizing this is part of the cycle. And I reached out to the landscaper. So let me say this, the landscaper who knows everything about chickens, I called him, I was freaking out. And he's like, yeah, I'll just bring you another one. Go ahead and bury it. And I was like, oh my God, so callous. But he wrote me the kindest message afterwards. And he said, this is all a part of life. And he said, when you bury this, it's really, he's like, if when you bury it in the banana orchard, the banana tree grove, because banana trees really love organic matter. And this is how they're going to now flourish. And we eat the bananas. And so I think, like it's an opportunity to see this cycle and how it gives
Mhm.
back to us too, right? So there's another form of,
Yeah, I get you 100%. And he's right, but he's also not right, in my opinion, because it's a sign. If I can go back a few steps, Nikki, just to help me process this, it is a sign. But the question is, what sign? It might be a sign that you're scared of
Mm,
letting people down, fearful of what comes next after a big transition. That's the sign. And you're absolutely right, where it's like we're being prepared for something, yes, because once we're having a triggering experience for an attachment to being there or anything else, now I got a chance to strengthen that, be with it, ground it, speak in a different way. So we're learning, like, you could learn 16 lessons from
right.
this
Oh,
chicken
yeah.
diet. Now, not to be too hard on the farmer, he's right objectively. It is a cycle
Yeah.
of life, but it does very much miss the 16 lessons that you can learn from it. And you're kind of like, what
Yeah.
was it that really triggered me? I found a lot of meaning in that. Really touched me. What was that? I had a friend die
Hmm.
recently who was a drummer in this kirtan band. Um,
Mm,
Gwendolyn, her name is. She's a wonderful musician. And when I saw her, I hosted her a couple times in the kirtan. When I saw that she died on Facebook, I wept.
mm,
It was only like 3 nights of my life, but there was this memory of something special. You see? So there's
mhm.
pain, yes, but there's this underlying lesson. You gotta like lift it up and see it and realize, yeah, it's a sign, all right. I've, I'm attached to this, this, and this. And there's this beautiful coming of age. Like we can move past it now. And the cycle of life's in there. And I think I don't know, to me, that's a beautiful, profound moment.
It
Mhm.
is. It is. So, with that being said, how do we hold compassion for suffering without spiritually bypassing it?
That's it's a tough one.
So when
Jenny,
it
you go
comes to
first.
like specifically talking about suffering, right? Something that we would assign a negative viewpoint, but something where it appears to be suffering, right? Like I think back to the Chinese parable, Jenny, that I always have you recite, might have
Mhm.
you recite it today. But, we don't know, what we feel like is the negative, right? So that's why the power of staying in the neutrality. At the same time, if someone dies of cancer horrifically, oh,
Mhm.
well, it's okay. It's just what was supposed to be, like neutral.
No, no,
And so,
no, no, no.
yeah, I want to talk about that because I don't
Wow!
want, listeners to think that we're ignoring the level of
Mhm.
suffering or pain that people experience through something so extreme.
Pain is absolutely a part of life. It's a process of helping us to open and to awaken, and there's the very common statement, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional."
Oh.
And when you know that pain is a part of this life, you have to feel it all. This is a beautiful dimension of being able to feel it all. Like the hard stuff,
Mhm.
fear and anger and grief and shame, all of that is a part of the human experience, and not to be ignored or even talked down upon. It is a part of this experience, and crying and grieving over a loss is important because we will never have that same experience with that soul again in this particular way. I'm never gonna be Jenny Fairbank again. You're never gonna be Nicole Artabasi or Stephen Ross again after we leave this life. We're gonna have other experiences. And so we need to honor all of the emotions because they are a beautiful way of helping us grow.
Mhm.
So pain is a part of this, and it's how we deal with it and handle it that is important. that we honor it, that we get support around it, that we move through it
Mhm.
with as much support and honor as we can, and that we don't suppress it. Because this is what I see in my work with people, is that they don't wanna feel the difficult things. They don't wanna
Mhm.
face the difficult things, so they hide from them, and they ignore them and think they'll just go away, which does not happen.
Or cope through alcoholism or I mean, in my case, like, that's how I dealt with pain, right?
Absolutely, let's numb out and
Right.
drink or smoke or do whatever you're doing, binging food or TV or whatever it is, you're numbing yourself, you're saying, "I don't wanna deal," which you
Yeah.
have every right to do that, it's free will. However, it's still in there, and it's gonna stay in there until you are ready to face it. And when we talk about karma and the spiral, these are karma is unlearned lessons, and it is cause and effect, as Stephen mentioned in the beginning. It's energy that is what you put out has to come back to neutralize at some point in your long journey of the soul. So when we talk about why do things happen, if I'm a really good person and why do bad things happen to me? Why does this always happen to
Mhm.
me? And you go into victimhood, first you're going down the spiral, but also you are not in that mindset where, like I'm saying, being curious, what is trying to happen here through me? But instead, you're in the revolt of, I don't like this. It should be different. Why is this happening to me? You're never going to get clarity when you're in that space.
Mm.
Never, because you're blocking yourself and hiding, and you're then just gonna feel more and more of that heaviness, like you're carrying around a big bag of rocks.
And the question I have around this is how how can people stop seeing themselves as punished by life? Because I know several people, many people probably, that are very much like, "Ah, I just have bad luck. Ah," everything happens negatively to them. I think about, you know, cycles within their job, cycles within relationships, like partners, their, romantic relationships that just the cycle that we see, but they're like, they feel like they are the victim and being punished by life constantly. And so then what you see and expect continues, right?
Mhm.
But
Right,
but
and
how do people stop and move out of that?
one of the things I was gonna say, and then Stephen can speak, but, the problem lies in the fact that we're only looking at this one life, and I know that that's all we're living, and that's all we see and are experiencing right now, but with karma, as our teachers talk about, like, it's reincarnation and karma have to kind of go hand in hand to really understand karma, because it isn't about this one life. It is about your
Mhm,
long journey of your soul and what you've been bringing and creating in your consciousness for who knows how many millions of years or whatever. So that's a whole nother deep subject. But that is really important to say here, because it's not just these 50 years you've lived or 20, 30, whatever years you've lived here that is creating the life of which you're experiencing. There's
mhm.
so much more involved.
I mean, our souls live beyond, right? I mean, I'll say this, if there's anybody that follows the Christian faith, like, most of us will agree our souls live beyond this physical body bag, as you said. And so, if that's the case, and I do believe we reincarnated some level, right? Then it's the much bigger picture. So maybe what you're saying is we're looking like right here, and there's a much bigger picture as to what's happening. And so we're playing a part in our soul's evolution.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And we can also, the impact of this lifetime's events, especially during childhood and formative years and experiences, immensely affect us, from what I see with people. So when I do a
Hmm.
soul reading for someone, I want to look back at, like, what are the causes underneath the stories? Yeah, the job's
Right.
hard, relationship cycle, here we are again. But we can need to look at the attachment cords right back to the beginning. I can see it. They go right back to the beginning, and we look at, like, what is the authentic self? Like, when you came in, what's in there? Maybe there's past
Hmm.
life stuff, or maybe it's just a beautiful diamond, but that's what it mostly is. It's just this beautiful diamond. It comes in and it's covered with all these things. These experiences happen in those environments. They happen to us. The brain changes, absorb, you become a product of your environment. And
Mm.
depending on how difficult and severe that was, you are now rolling a boulder uphill in some ways. It seems so terribly unfair. The part that we
Yeah.
don't see, and psychics talk about it all the time, is that you're choosing, like there's something that comes in that for some reason we don't understand that seems to be very, very, and I say very intelligent, is inserting people into families. And the soul comes then and plays out these different experiences. And again, it seems incredibly unfair when you have a bad hand, but like
Mhm.
this is what we call grit. Someone becomes gritty.
Mhm.
The more grit you've accumulated, the bigger the pearl on the flip side. What if you can
Right.
come through it, which is not always possible, but if you can try. And so that's formulating people. Then you get into adult life, not realizing that all of that grit, all of that stuff, all of those things going on are actually initiating you to make choices on things that are not in the
Mhm.
best interest. And so you repeat a relationship for the third, fourth, fifth time again. Same, you change jobs 3 times, and the people are eerily like the ones from the first company.
Right.
That happens quite a lot. And so,
Yep, I've
like,
been
oh my
there.
God, here I am again, and go around a vicious cycle. And we feel to blame. Now, there's a weaponizing part to your friends trapped in negativity, and a lot of people are, that all of a sudden, not only does the ego bypass externally and scapegoats and blames a bunch of people, it'll do it to yourself.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
some mechanism there where it starts like looking in the mirror, it's your fault. It's you. And so
Mhm.
the blame, the thing that's trying to find causation is now like a shaving mirror looking back. And there's a weaponizing of that in the throat chakra. It happens. So my point is like we're up against all these forces you don't see. If you don't have a worldview of this stuff, we're like, what is it? Why does my career never quite take off? But there's a way to find it. There's lots of people like us who can help you find it. But you're digging for treasure now at that point, you see. But the treasure's there, I can assure you all.
Mhm. I love that you say that, Stephen. I was thinking back, I had a meeting yesterday with a potential client who went through a similar situations that I did in corporate. I know we always talk about the corporate stuff, but I had some really horrific experiences towards the end of my corporate career.
Mhm.
And it was obviously I was being pulled out of that. And, if I want to start assigning meaning in the why, and, Jenny and Stephen carried me through some of those moments of, we'll just call it hell, it felt like here. And, everything shifted for me. And I look now at what happened, and I don't know, and I'm not saying it had to happen that way. I don't know. These are questions I'm still asking, but I do know it was the greatest gift,
Hmm.
which would be typically what someone would assign negativity for. And if I shared, and I cannot, but if I shared on this podcast some of the things that happened that were very unjust, um, there's a lot of people out there that have gone through what I did
Hmm.
as well. At the moment, it was like, "Woe is me, woe is me." But when I shifted and I was just like, "Okay," and I reframed it, I was just going through this. What am I learning? And I'm on the other side now, and that launched me and taught me what I really wanted, what Karen and I are really being
Hmm.
called to. And
This is
I don't Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
yeah, this is just such an important point,
Yeah.
and because it's something that we work with people to get through, because when you're in something so difficult and there is this heavy feeling of why me and what's happening and why and I don't understand. It is almost everyone that I especially that I know and have worked with, and I can imagine anyone listening could identify with this as well, or know somebody who has gone through something horrific. And on the other side of it, when they get through it and they've done their healing, they look back and they say, "That was the making of me.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
so important for my growth. And if that didn't happen, then this and this and this couldn't have happened."
Mhm.
So we tend to go right to, "Oh, this is difficult and I don't like it and it should be different." When you sit with it and you're in the mud and in the fire, it is hard. It is really, really hard to sit in that and to not blame yourself or blame other
Right.
people, or to think that I don't the
Mm.
worst of the worst. But I'll tell you, and I mean, I can't even stress enough how almost I can promise you that if you keep going with it and if you get support and you trust that there's a deeper reason here and a deeper meaning, that on the other side of that, you're going to get clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mhm,
going to understand why this happened for
mhm.
you, not to you, but for you.
Yeah.
It's so
This is
massive.
called the mystery, and Thomas Keating called it the divine architect. And he would say, follow the divine architect there, follow
Mm,
it in. And it was some
yeah,
sort of spiritual, energetic process. The big event, like what you described, one of the things I see so much and so often with people is there's a cyclical nature to experiences. Everything
mm,
in nature has cycles, and there's a
right,
subtle version around that where things come in cycles. They talk about even like things like fall of Rome, and they'll talk about all kind of like civilizations collapsing. There's cycles in this, so you'll see the spiral coming around again, and like we're back again in a similar situation. But the spiral gets smaller at the bottom, and it's a bit like a rattlesnake's tail, where there seems to be a period every 12 years or so, it depends, where there's some intensifying experience that takes it right to the bottom of the tail of the vortex, and boom, smashes it open. And these intense experiences, finally, someone says, enough. And I
yeah.
believe this is tied into a pattern where these patterns get quicker and quicker and intense, and then they break.
That karma comes around again to kind of test. It's a test. Are you really done with this? And if we don't get it, it gets harder. The tests get harder, right?
Mhm.
You get a like a little tap on the shoulder, and then you get a little shove, and then you get a push, and then you get a kick, and then you're like, you're getting pushed down because that energy is trying to awaken you to
Right.
take an action step, perhaps. Like maybe there's a part of you, Nick, that was like, I need to get out of corporate. I know I do, but it's not that bad. I need to get out of corporate. I know I do, but and then harder and harder things start happening, more challenges where the energy's like, no, you don't belong here anymore. You got to get out.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, actually, I don't have a choice almost. Like I can't do this anymore. You don't have to wait for that. We don't have to wait for that because it's our intuition that's tapping us, our soul saying it's time to move on. That's just one example.
So, I'd like to present a different example if I can, just because for the listeners
Mhm.
out there, I think one of the most difficult things, and everything goes back to often relationships, right? And so, when you have someone like I think about my father, right? I don't even want to say he's not a good man. We went through a lot of abuse, emotional, financial abuse in my family. And um, he is a very broken man, clearly, has ruined most every relationship in his life. And it was very traumatic growing up with him, right? I mean, there was some physical abuse as well. And, as a child and now as an adult, I mean, to make sense of that, and I'm talking to the listeners on this who've gone through horrific things, and for that, I just wanna take a moment and say, I'm sorry, all
Mhm.
3 of us, like, that is, for what you've been through potentially and, um, repeat abuse, whatever those things are that you didn't necessarily cause, and I just wanna say that because I think even people who've gone through, like, maybe sexual abuse, right? There's so
Mhm.
much you try to understand about yourself in that, and there are times, I mean, we look at war, we look at, some of the casualties, that have happened, and trying to make sense of that, like the corporate situation, like I could physically make a decision to get out of. And so I know I'm asking a very difficult question right
Mhm.
now, but what do we say to those people when it's those kinds of situations
Yeah.
that they had no control over?
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to say off right off the bat, it's not your fault. And we need to understand that because this cause and effect thing gets weaponized also in this argument where people
Right.
start thinking, I must have been a horrible person in another lifetime. I mean, no, 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 not at all. Like I did a reading for someone years ago, and I was kind of the mindset of like, there's always causation. There must have been like a lifetime as a horrible, as a murderer or whatever the hell it was. And right in the beginning, my guide said this was not in the soul agreement to suffer sexual abuse.
Oh,
And my
okay.
jaw dropped because like my whole worldview just changed. Like, what do you, okay. And so there's certain circumstances seem to come that have a violation incredibly deep that's beyond this. Now, there's incarnating in difficult families. There's stuff playing out. There's definitely like risk and potential and things in there, but there's certain circumstances aren't. So we've got to be careful, I think, to really like make it absolute. Like there's a saying in India, karma's so complex, not even the gods understand.
Yep.
And I want to just remind myself of that and everybody else, who the hell knows, right? To some degree.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for those people who've suffered under that level of violation, there's some transgression here that's really, really deep and very complex, because even the person who behaved in a traumatic way, intergenerational trauma, were they abused by their father? Was there, stuff at school? And now we got this awful web of things, you see, to untangle. But what seems to pivot in my awareness is, from the darkest place, the light can shine again. I'm speaking to all those people who've been damaged in this way, underneath it all, indestructible. The self cannot be harmed, cut, burned, or anything else. The Bhagavad Gita says you are indestructible. It's in there. And we might have to fight and reach down hard and get there, but by golly, it's there. So
Yeah.
that's what seems to come to me, you guys.
Absolutely true.
There's one
It's
more I'll give
absolutely
just to add on, to throw in Einstein, in casual conversation, but he has this quote that's like, you can't solve a problem at the energetic frequency you got into it. You have to go up a level to solve
Okay.
it. You have to like raise the frequency somehow, which could be boundaries and courage and hell no and various ways. Anyway, I want to give you that too.
Mhm.
Thank you. Jeannie, what are your
There's a
thoughts?
there's a lot to this, and we don't have all the answers. Nobody does. No one does. Why some of these horrific things happen, we can't say, but we do know, yes, Stephen is 100% right. Our soul cannot be hurt. Our soul, our energy field is always safe, protected, unconditionally loved, and witnessing what is happening to this in this physical life. And yes, I believe wholeheartedly there's a deeper meaning to it all. Do we always figure it out? No. And we might not know until we leave this experience and have our soul life review to see what was all this for? What is the meaning of this?
Right.
And that's okay if you need to wait for that, because it is sometimes these are just too complex to unravel from a human perspective. And we just what I encourage people to do is trust that you are already free within yourself, and that really look at maybe what actions that you can take to get out of the situation, or whatever it is. There's something there's something here for you. And it's so, so, so difficult because we wanna revolt against those things. How could we not revolt
Yeah.
against those things? There's atrocities all over this planet.
Mhm.
This is a duality. We are in the energy of heaviness, of darkness, of shadows, and there's light. And there is light within every single soul. So go to your inner light, find your inner light, trust that you are a divine being. And yeah, there's a lot of pain here. It's
Mhm.
not an easy trip.
There's
This
so
is
many
Can I?
not.
healers I meet who've gone through this, and I'm always fond of the teaching, healer, heal thyself, because the amount of
Mhm.
people who've gone through that stuff who then
Mm,
convert it into serving others is astonishing to me. It's
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yes.
about Nelson Mandela. He's a hero of mine, and
Yeah.
you know, people that wanted nothing but to help, righteousness and pursuing freedom for heck a nation, right? And yet, 27 years he sat in prison, and who knows the horrific torture he went through and abuse. And somehow, when he came out of that, it was just like, how is he okay, right? And from what I understand, like there was a joy about him, right? And that surpasses the understanding. And I guess I want to go back to, and not to challenge our earlier conversation, but when we look at this topic, and thank you both for being down to, I know these are hard things. And so for everyone listening, like obviously we are all still learning and trying to grow and understand and seek. And um but to our earlier conversation around neutrality, and think not assigning good or bad, when you have some level of what we call suffering, I think that is suffering when you go through horrific abuse beyond your control as an innocent person, you know, do we then, is there still neutrality there?
Mm.
The Mandela thing is interesting because the phrase comes to me: hate begets hate. So one hate's the opposite of love, so it pulls like this and repulses like this. So you're mentioning Mandela is like there's some capacity, some noble ideal. Imagine the tree of life, okay, which is internal, and they're pulling like this. But there's some capacity to rise above that we call
Despite the
noble.
physical happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a nobility in rising above, even mortal enemies put their
Yeah. Jesus,
swords down.
Jesus's life being crucified, Jesus,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
The amount of abuse
There's
that he
some
went through.
resurrecting, there's some principle that seems to just say enough. Like there's some
Right.
dam that happens that says, I will not hit back the way you hit me. Gandhi said, they all said that 20th century was an amazing time of people coming out saying, we got to stop the cycle of hate here. Strike one
Mhm.
cheek and turn the other. Like there's a point, but then there's something else that then rises above and shows an alternative.
Yeah.
Truth and
Yeah. Well,
reconciliation in Mandela's case in South Africa. That's the nobility now. That's why we need leaders, true leaders.
and I know I'm asking very hard questions, so just bear with me because these
That's good.
are, what about a child who is innocent and they have a family member who's horrifically abusing them?
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
same thing,
school
right? Because
shootings.
a
I
soul,
mean,
soul is a soul, right?
yeah,
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 absolutely.
So even as a child, that
Yeah.
soul can rise beyond despite the
Mhm.
not having any control of what's happening to them.
Yeah, there's a woman that I heard. I don't recall her name, and I apologize. It's a long while ago. She was sharing her experience of being physically sexually abused as a child, and she was, as she's in the middle of this abuse, her soul comes out of the experience. She exits the body, and she's with her spirit guide, and the spirit guide is telling her, "Don't look, you're okay," and brings her to, like, takes her into a comforting place.
Yeah.
And she then awakens into, like, she's a guide to help people to see that, like, share her experience, and to see that that is not you. What is happening here is not you, and you're not you can rise above this and see that this is happening, where there's a reason, but we don't know what it is right now. There's a reason, and you can rise above this and not be, hmm, as affected when you see it from that higher place, when you understand that you are not this.
Yeah.
hmm
It was so impactful and so powerful, and I know that's not how everybody experiences it, but I do know that I've worked a lot with people who's had excruciating trauma, and they always have a coping mechanism.
Mm.
They always find a way to, like, oh, that, like, someone I worked with for a long time had this pink dot that she would literally would come across her, and she couldn't remember what happened on the other side of it because it
Mm.
was a lot going on. So our souls are trying to protect us, and our guides. There's so much happening on the energy plane that we don't know, that is saying, "Yeah, we know this is going on for you, but we're gonna help you through this. We're gonna protect you." And I think that if you're in a situation that is abusive, very, very hard, and you can't get out of it, go inward and speak to your guide, speak to your higher self, and connect with your light as much as you can, knowing that this is not me. This is not about me in this moment. I am a being of light, and
Yeah.
I am really inherently free. Even though right now I'm feeling enslaved or whatever it is, there's something bigger here that we don't know exactly, but there is a way to see this or experience it a little bit softer. I don't know. It's hard to even use
Yeah,
the word
Yeah.
because it's
I
so.
I I hear what you're saying, and I just wanna speak to I mean, I worked with girls who had been, trafficked and sexually exploited, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, there were stories I heard, I won't tell their stories, but one girl, like, went in the midst of some pretty horrific abuse of multiple people abusing her at the same time, she saw these angelic beings pick her up and lay her on the bed and put socks on her feet.
Yeah.
There were moments that in the midst of it, and I know for me personally, and I think, to my former therapist, Julie Jones, who, absolutely transformed my life. I can absolutely credit her to walking me through some very dark night of the soul. Some of the horrific experiences that I went through, right, through my car accident or through even childhood. I have one really bad memory. Me, my sister, and my baby brother, and it just kind of plagued me in a negative way. And um, I went deep within. So this was a past experience. And when I tapped in and went straight in, me and God, I had this vision of us being put by God on this magic carpet and being flown away from the house for a while until things settled down. And so I think there's that point in whatever you call the modality of therapy or however you choose to go through things, I think there is a level of, I guess I could just say healing
Hmm.
that's possible, whether it's currently happening
Yeah.
or if it's something that's plaguing you from the past. I do believe there's, opportunity. And I know, Jenny, you work with a lot of people, Stephen, you as well. So just wanted to call that out that it's while you're in the moment. And I personally know even needing to be healed from past experiences and then that reframing process
Yeah.
is
If I can respond to Jenny's point, which I loved, there's an
peace.
inward touch, the self, and that knowing, and also that prayer, even a plea for inside. I would think of that as a very activating experience of I'm scared, help me. Like there's an inner plea. But there's
Mhm.
also I would the phrase that comes to me is touch point. It's that one touch point out. I don't know what I'm making what I mean by that. I think like anything from a suicidal hotline to a nonprofit to a person you just happen to meet. There's like this one touch point, and see it like
Mhm.
connecting one, two, three, four, and then you've got these touch points out. And this is where I find that the intuition, the wisdom within has this mechanism that will try and help you in those moments. But you do have to reach out. There's always an effort, which is incredibly hard. I've never been through that kind of stuff, but it's incredibly hard of that one touch point, a high school teacher, a counselor,
Mhm.
and so on. And it's that
Yeah.
one touch out, just that one. It's almost it's as powerful as Michelangelo's painting of the touch and the two fingers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that big a deal.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
And if you ask in, touch out, I believe there's something like that light that the lightning bolt or God current, whatever you want to call it, comes.
Mhm.
And
are you saying, like, by reaching out for something,
Yeah.
someone, whatever that point is,
yeah,
yeah,
a suicidal hotline
that's
could be enough. There's hotlines,
Mhm.
and I say this because I am amazed you did this work with trafficking, but the amount of people called into service to help
Mhm.
clean up this horrendous
Yeah,
mess. That's intergenerational. The hell knows
right.
how long. It seems to be even worse now than ever, and at least we just know more, I guess. But it's just what it comes to me is touch point. Yes, touch in, you're indestructible. There's a force there and ask, but there's that one touch out. If you can do it, just that one conversation where you tell someone, that's the hardest thing of all. But once that opens, it's like I keep seeing Michelangelo. You know what I'm talking about? The giant
Yeah,
painting.
oh, yeah.
The two,
Yep.
that's the touch point.
Mhm. And I think I'm hearing you say, I mean, I know I have found such safety and security in God, the source that all that is, right? Like, that has always been when I've been in horrific, uh, chaotic and catastrophes and just, I've been through a lot of turmoil and I go in within and no matter what around me, like there is a safety, there's a
Hmm.
protection. I feel it immediately.
Yeah.
That's never left since I was little, you know? I want to move into some questions here, just kind of how to move people, because I think, first of all, I just want to acknowledge, I know this is a very heavy part of our episode today, but I couldn't help but bring this up because I know what some of you and me and all of us have gone through and are going through. So I just want to offer compassion and love from the three of us, right? We know it's not easy. We're not bypassing or aloof to the fact that this is horrendous. I think the goal today is to really uncover ways to help you heal and um, maybe even answer the question around meaning and what to do with that. I want to ask a couple questions around for someone who, how can someone reframe what's happening without denying their emotions?
Mm. Oh, I would say your emotions are clear indicators of something in your energy field. Something has come in to you, and what I love about emotional intelligence is there's the surface emotion of anger, frustration, get away. That's all the surface protecting shield, but get into the underlying emotions.
Yeah.
And once you sit with them for about 3 seconds, those emotions reveal a different choice than just stay the hell away. Like does that make sense? There's another
Oh, yeah.
emotion, and it's another
Yep.
choice. They reveal a choice to make. Sadness
Yeah.
tells you a choice, shows you
Mhm.
an hour path. Shame shows you a path, and so on and so on.
Yep.
Fear shows you a path.
Yeah.
And that's important. These are an important part of our equipment, and they're not really used
Mhm.
very much. A lot of people I meet, myself included.
Yeah.
It's important to sit with the emotions. It's really important to acknowledge them, to feel them, to I feel strongly about speaking with to them. Like their every single thing is an energy pattern and it's there for a reason. So you want to really acknowledge it and feel it and be able to work with it directly and move it out when it's time
Yeah.
because it can take some time. I mean, I do a lot of somatic work and not everyone is ready to release energy. Sometimes they need to just befriend it.
Mhm.
Sometimes they need to say, "Okay, you're here and you can stay, but I'm putting boundaries around this. I'm going to set some boundaries for you."
Mhm.
Because they're they're trying to show us something. They're not just happening. "Oh, I'm just so happen that I feel angry." There's a reason why you're feeling angry and it's okay.
Mhm.
So please don't push down, ignore anything that comes up for you,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah.
We wanna be in the space of curiosity about ourselves and wonder why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
So it's vital to acknowledge and work with your emotional body.
Agreed.
And I think that for the listener out there who, I've met people who are going through a dark night of the soul and it's just like, "Oh, I'm just in this." And for how long, who knows? Like, just sitting in muck and sadness and heaviness, and so I think, what are some practices to help people move from kind of the victimhood and experiencing all of that to empowerment and
Mhm.
not living for the rest of your life or for even a minute longer than is healthy, and I say that because I do think there's to your point, Jenny, I mean, you have walked me through dealing with what's happening, right? Like here's what's happening and moving through that energy to the other side. But it's very easy to want to stay there. And I hate to use this word, but wallow in that
Mhm.
darkness.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
like, what's that balance?
Yeah. There's a couple things come up for me that's important. There's always two things going on, you guys. There's an ego projected thing going on, a mirroring kind of thing, a scapegoating thing that pushes out and it creates drama. So I would
Mhm.
say, like, yeah, there's stuff going on and you feel emotions, you feel hurt, be in it, and absolutely look at them and be at them. But you kind of need to take a walk from the drama. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
can pull it off and get yourself out from the actual like drama of it, he said, she said, they said, whatever it might be, pull back for a moment. Like take a long walk, go into nature, sit in a rock, and literally sit in a bench or something, and come back into your body and be able to say, okay, there's this drama, but my feelings are actually more advanced than the drama. Like that's actually more useful to me to get back to my
Yeah.
neutrality and my peace. So what were those feelings? I would also say what
Mm,
were the needs of those feelings?
that's good.
And you
Thank you,
have
Stephen.
that,
That's good.
and then you're able to kind of center a bit. I realized, okay, I got a choice now. Say
Right.
nothing, get mad,
And that's
shout
the
back.
empowerment.
What's that?
That's the empowerment part.
It's
That's the
empowerment part.
empowerment,
It's a new
right.
choice. I would say there's a fresh new start in every experience that upsets you.
Mhm.
I love that. I can see a T-shirt,
I've
Dr.
just made
Stevens
it up.
T-shirts. New choice, right? New
Yeah,
choice.
fresh.
Like, it
Yeah,
is true.
it's a fresh start.
Yeah,
Fresh
it's
start.
so empowering.
hmm And so we got
I
to get
love it.
back into our bodies, unplug from the drama, pull back. That's why media is a nightmare because it creates drama and sucks you into a screen like this.
Yep.
Pull back from the drama. Like, what really happened in you? What's trying to teach you? What's trying to show you? What is the sign? Going back to current, what is the actual sign? And
Yeah.
there'll be two things I find: an outer thing that actually is just a bunch of projection mirrors, and then there's
Mhm.
the real thing.
Yep.
Well, and even to
Mhm.
that point about Karen, when I asked her later in the evening, when the tears had dried a little bit more, and I said, "Did you when you?" Because I'm the one that, just to be very clear, I'm the one in the relationship that usually spirals. Like Jenny knows, like I'm the one that'll ruminate. Karen's pretty even kill about stuff, but she's very loving towards animals, and it's hard. And I asked her, I said, "Did you really mean that? Have you been thinking like, is there a sign that we should move back to Austin?" Or and she was just like, "No, it was just in the moment." So, in that moment, she was just trying to assign meaning. Like, "This has to be a meaning. I'll
She's
grab for
trying to
this one."
assign meaning.
Right?
Of
But when she
course.
st Yeah, but when she took a step back and obviously recognizing the emotion and the pain around what just happened, and nobody wants to bury anybody or anything, and knowing like, no, that was just that momentary emotion. And so I think, yeah, to your point, like perspective, right? Like shifting that perspective, go to nature, shift your surroundings.
Absolutely.
Um,
You can't gain clarity when you're in drama. Not gonna
no.
happen.
We've probably answered some of this, but I do want to ask, there's a couple of remaining questions. When someone is in the middle of pain, what is more healing than trying to figure out why?
Mm.
When you're in the middle of pain?
Yeah, because we go to wanting to know, why is this
Yeah.
happening? What is
Mhm.
more healing for us?
Be with it
Okay.
and sit with it. I say, if you're in the middle of pain, be in
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
Be
Okay.
there. And nothing lasts forever. Everything, everything is temporary. And pain is temporary. And when we're in the middle of pain, we can't find the answer. We're not going to know why when we're in the middle of pain. It's on the other side of it often when we're pulled out of the drama of it, and we can gain more clarity, perhaps some insight when we go inward. But we're not going to get it when we're in the middle of it. You're not going to be in the middle of surgery and saying, "Oh, why am I having this?" And if you're going through some deep stuff, it's not necessarily going to happen in that moment.
hmm One image that I get a lot, you guys, when I'm doing readings is kind of like an iceberg or an ice sheet, in Antarctica or something, and it's on the heart chakra. And so when you're finally in the right emotion, it's as if it cracks a piece of the ice off. And it could be
Mhm.
years of uncried grief. And you finally
Mhm.
come, when you sit with the emotion long enough, it just, in some almost like melts it and it comes off the
Mm.
chakra. This is my new theory. And once it comes off, you'll get some statement come out that, oh, I missed him or I loved him so much or whatever it is. I love that chicken so much, whatever it might be. And so it all just comes off and then you've
Mhm.
got something clarity behind it and you held it in for years.
Yes, yes, yes. That's what I see is
Good,
that
Stephen.
when you sit with it, and I g- g- get, I want people to sit with it and go into it as deeply as you can. Feel the anger as much as you can. Give it as all the attention that it wants. And after about a minute, it does dissipate. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. It's actually, I don't feel it anymore. And now I know why that's here. That happens so very often.
Mhm.
S- just give yourself permission to sit with the hurt, the pain, the whatever emotion it is. It definitely it starts to transmute. It starts to alchemize,
hmm
and then it'll just like, yeah, like melt away, fall away. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
And I
I
think,
don't feel it anymore.
and to your point, to both your points around, and I'm a living, breathing testimony of this, right? you go there, and Jenny, you've been so good to me about asking that deeper question and like, what's really going on? So if you have a good therapist out there or a friend, or if you don't, call Jenny, call Steven. But even last week, I think I was going through something, and it just like something came up out of the blue, and I started crying, and she was like, well, what's really going on there? And I was like, it's this. And she's like, is that it? And I was like, is she challenging me on what I'm feeling? But the reality was the questions that you were asking me, all of a sudden the awareness came. And only then, when that's uncovered, or that's coming off, like you're saying, that, that whatever that is on your chakra, like it was like, oh, only then can I work through the healing. Right. And so I guess, to our point around asking why, it's not always wrong. I think there has to be purpose in it, right? From
Yeah.
what I'm taking away from this call. And working with it. And I think, I guess, oh, this whole conversation is just lighting me up right now. I'm so happy and excited because it's freedom. And I've
Yeah.
worked my whole life, I feel like, to find freedom. And here I go crying on air. But when those of us who have been through a lot of trauma, there's nothing like freedom. And I am a living, breathing testimony to that there is hope and there is the other side. And I always say, like, what is my one tip that I can offer our listeners on these calls? And it's to keep going,
Hmm.
to not give up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just feeling a lot of emotion right now,
Yeah.
remembering where I've come through. And, um, if I were to ask you guys, and kind of wrapping up here, um, if listeners only remember one thing about why things happen, what would you want it to be?
There is a mystery in life, capital M mystery. There's something in life that keeps the heart beating. There's some natural force that heals cuts. In the midst of a forest fire, regrows again. This natural mechanism we see all around us works the same internally. And there's a process of nature when you align with it that returns you back to self. And so we need to do our part just in any way. We go to the doctor internally as well. We do our part, we find our touch point, and that mechanism, that's what a healer is. They're not curing. The healer is opening up the wound so the light can shine and it can
Mm,
breathe, and then healing takes place. And
yeah.
that's, I believe, inherent to all wounds, the
Mm,
darkest ones especially. So it's important to remember. We just got to put ourselves in a position to receive healing, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Mm,
Yeah. I want people to know in their depths of their heart that they are unconditionally loved, safe, and protected in their soul, and that your soul is a bright, shiny light, and that this life is fleeting, it will end, and you are eternal. You're an eternal being. Yes, perhaps having a very, very difficult experience in this life. This isn't who you are. This isn't the essence of you. The essence of you is profound,
yeah.
deep, and real. The real, that's the realness of you. This is a body bag, essentially. That's important and you need to take care of, and all the good things and difficult things with it. But no, it's very temporary.
Yeah. Mm. Oh, just a massive sigh. I feel like I could go into a deep meditation right now on this.
Mhm.
Um, and my encouragement, as always, is that there's nothing wrong with you. We are all on this planet together, working through things and healing. And I encourage anybody out there who's really dealing with self judgment or blame, reach out to me directly. Like, let's have a chat, because that is in no way, shape, or form going to serve you. I've practiced it for a long time. And there is the other side. And yeah, keep doing the next right thing, and know that there is healing for you, and that yeah,
There's one
This
book I
is
want to recommend, Nikki, also that just sort of
please.
comes to me. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Elizabeth
please.
Kubler-Ross, who wrote about the 5 stages of dying, she also wrote a book, Lessons from the Dying. She co-wrote it with a man, I forget his name, but she was going around getting stories of those at the end of life. And I think that's important also is that you might not crack the case, you might not get all the way to the end goal because that's just the way it is. But what was the lesson it taught you?
Right.
And you
Right.
pass it on to the next group, you see?
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
important. Find a lesson and then communicate the lesson
Right.
just to one
Mhm.
person.
Yeah. Mhm. I love that, and I'm gonna get that book. We'll put that in the show notes, and, also, you know, Michael Singer's book, The Surrender Experiment. Also,
Yeah.
I just encourage people that was a transformative book I know I've mentioned before on the podcast, but I highly recommend you going reading through this. It's kind of a eye opener, mind opener, brought me a lot of freedom, but I'm gonna pick up that book as well, and we hope this has been encouraging today. We know there's a lot of questions out there, and that's why we're here to daringly open it up to ask these. And um, as always, if you have some really hard questions, in between these longer episodes, we have shorter episodes that are,
Mhm.
20, 30 minutes long, where Jenny and Stephen ask their guides. And so
Mhm.
if you want to submit a question, please go to connect at wisdompathways.life. Submit your question. Or if you just have questions, maybe you don't want asked on air and just want to engage us, then you're welcome to do so. Um, we know these are hard subjects, but also they don't have to be, right? It's reframing and the freedom. So thank you for being with us today, everyone. I hope and pray you're having sunshine wherever you are. And if it's rain, grateful for that too, and look forward to being with you again. So thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Stephen, and everyone
Thank you, Nikki,
else.
so much.
Thank you.
As always, you do have a path forward. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you are leaving feeling more peace, clarity, and light as you navigate your journey forward. While there's no promotional purpose behind our podcast, we understand that things can arise that may be helpful to process or work through. Jenny and Stephen are co-founders of Wisdom Pathways, a sacred place of personal transformation. They offer soul mediumship, somatic healing, and spiritual resources for all walks of life. If you feel lost or stuck, are in transition, or awakening to something more, visit wisdompathways.life, or you can email any one of us at connect@wisdompathways.life. Tune in again this time next week if you'd like, and as always, share with a friend who might benefit as well. Peace and love.